But time passed and the crooks got more sophisticated. So after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, law enforcement discovered the way terrorists had gotten around the Bank Secrecy Act, and Congress was then called on to update the laws to cut off future access, and that's what Congress did. Today's terrorists have a new way to get around the Bank Secrecy Act: cryptocurrency. Last year, an estimated $20 billion in illicit crypto transactions funded every kind of dangerous criminal. North Korea has funded at least half its missile program.
Struggling, and it's about time we paid attention to their needs. Now, if you folks agree with Bernie Sanders and his push for more stimulus payments, then let's get this video to 1,000 likes.
A foundation for future American prosperity for years and decades to come through smart and bold investments in our nation's infrastructure. As I've said for weeks, the discussions about infrastructure legislation continue.
Reconciliation is a legislative tactic that only requires 51 votes, though it involves strict budgetary rules. Sanders said this week that his reconciliation bill would include an expansion of Medicare, which would cut the eligibility age to 60 from 65. Senate Democrats are also weighing including immigration reform provisions in a reconciliation bill to help finance part of the infrastructure plan, underscoring their ambition. Democrats narrowly control the Senate and hold a thin majority in the House. They are still negotiating a potential bipartisan deal with Republicans, which has already seen opposition from key progressives, including Sanders. Those talks received a boost on after more GOP and Democratic lawmakers signed on to the skinnier infrastructure bill, expected to focus on traditional elements like roads and bridges. It will be largely financed with unspent relief funds and existing spending. The White House is giving the bipartisan talks until the end of the month and could potentially switch gears, pushing Republicans aside and prioritizing a Democratic-only bill. It may be Sanders' $6 trillion one. Some of Congress Democrats agree with a fourth round of stimulus payments, and some of you can actually receive an extra stimulus check this week. 36 million American families are expected to start receiving monthly relief payments this week. Eligible households will get up to $250 for every child ages 6 to 17, and as much as $300 for each kid for each dependent under 6, all the way through December. The cash being provided under a temporary expansion of the child tax credit will be delivered on or around the 15th of every month. The American Families Plan, introduced by President Biden, seeks to provide aid to American families, invest in teachers and education, and ensure comprehensive paid family leave and subsidized childcare. A desperately needed plan that will no doubt boost women's workforce participation, which has fallen to levels not seen since the 1980s. However, the American Families Plan cannot be signed to law without support in both the House and evenly divided Senate, and so far, the plan has been met with resistance from Republican lawmakers, despite the fact that 60% of U.S. voters support the plan. Because as of January, the average regular gas in the United States price is pretty small. The amount is cheaper than most of the prices that we saw last year. Average price for gas is already on January 13th is nearly the same as the previous week's average, but 4 cents higher than average from 1 month ago. Because according to data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the price drop is starkest when you look at the current average compared with peak prices, about a 34% decline since June. When you look back on further and compare current cost with gas price at the same time last year, it's now about 2 cents cheaper. Spot shortages can easily drive up the gas prices locally because of refinery or pipeline shutdowns or just blending issues. But big nationwide swings in the price of gas are almost due to the price of crude oil. And new data from the Energy Information Administration shows that the cost of raw crude oil typically represents more than half of the cost of a gallon of gas. Refining and distribution and tax account for the remainder. Over time, the price of crude oil has just significantly increased with supply and demand, many factors affecting both, but recession, crisis, and higher prices tend to tamp down demand. Gas prices in the pump rarely affect the market day conditions. Instead, they represent costs incurred per week, folks. So what does this mean? Because gas prices are smaller, does it mean that we'll become getting stimulus checks anytime soon? Well, here's my answer to that. First of all, drivers in Hawaii, California, Washington, Nevada, and Alaska are seeing the highest gas prices, and food prices have also increased 0.2%. It marked a slowdown relative to the increases that have been seen for most of the year. Compared with a year ago, it was 11.8%. Versus 6.5% overall for all inflation items in the index. In an interview with CNBC, the CEO of Kroger said the company expects grocery inflation to remain relatively high this year, but to ease as the year progresses. A good growing season for farmers around the world will contribute to easing inflation pressures because eggs have been one of the most categories that have seen the most inflation, with prices up 11% in December, and even in November things were high too. So recently the House did pass a bill to seek lower gas prices by cracking down on alleged price gouging by the energy companies. This Consumer Fuel Price Gouging Prevention Act grants the president authority to issue emergency proclamation.
Yellen says the government could reach its limit by December 15th.
So folks, the 5.9% COLA increase is going to mean the larger checks for seniors. And lawmakers and economists are now concerned about how much these benefits will actually increase during the crisis. Chuck Schumer has actually announced a new deadline to pass Biden's social spending bill. So we have a ton of news to go over about the fourth stimulus check, and you want to be sure to stay at the end of the video to find out the latest news about your stimulus payments. Now, Chuck Schumer said today that he will bring President Biden's bill to the Senate floor once the parliamentarian finishes reviewing it, and that it is his goal to pass the roughly $2 trillion bill by the end of the year. Schumer said from the Senate floor that once this necessary work is completed with the parliamentarian, that he's going to bring President Biden's legislation to the floor so that he can pass as soon as possible. That's good news, everybody. Now, Schumer's comments come after the House passed the climate and social spending bill before a weeks-long Thanksgiving break, and the bill faces a hurdle in the Senate. Falling behind on the mortgages in the country, well, there is some support available to help you pay off things like property tax, insurance bills, and your mortgage. Specifically for anyone in California, there is a new California Mortgage Relief Program, which will offer support of up to $80,000 to deal with the areas that have been hit hardest. Sources told Newsweek that the crisis has left many California homeowners struggling to cover their mortgage costs. The program is designed to help low to moderate income Californians who have lost their jobs or experienced financial hardships due to the crisis and fallen behind on their payments to get caught up and start fresh. The California Mortgage Relief Program is funded by a $1 billion grant from the federal government, which put aside $10 billion for mortgage assistance in March as part of the American Rescue Plan. Then the money was split up between the Treasury Department, depending on each state's population of unemployed workers and borrowers with mortgages. The California Mortgage Relief Program has been introduced to help homeowners who were already behind on their mortgages as a result of the crisis. Residents of New York are also in store for more financial relief. New York has been granted $540 million by the federal government. The state recently began accepting applications for its Homeowners Assistance Fund. Now the government said this program is the first of its kind in the country, and that New York was the first state to receive this kind of federal funding. Virginia was awarded $250 million in stimulus relief funds from the U.S. Treasury just to support homeowners facing housing instability resulting from the crisis. Housing Virginia's Mortgage Relief Program is using these funds to assist people that